Hey, Teddy, come on in, man. Thank you for coming. Welcome to my house. Just want to show everybody our system and what we listen to at home. I got a few different systems, and come on in. Well, you can check out, this is Alan Toussaint. It's signed by Alan Toussaint, Nicolopoulos from New Orleans. It's hand-numbered, signed. Just love his artwork, and of course, New Orleans and Alan Toussaint. Well, come on in. We'll show you my downstairs system. These are quad electrostatics, quad 57. They've been done by Ken McCullum at Electrostatic Solutions in Kansas City. They sound awesome. This is a solid piece of wood for the stands. These are custom stands Kent has built. And he's the best at redoing and refurbishing the quad 57s. And I mean, his service is unbelievable. He hand delivers these. If I ever need, if there's any problem, he's always ready to answer and help. And I can't recommend him enough. Anyway, love these so much. Back here are the VTL Deluxe Mono 100s. These were made in Great Britain. We got these in about 1985, 1986. And these, I'll never get rid of them. They're my best amps. They never cause me any problems. They've always been enough power. They sound good. There's no maintenance. I don't even have to change tubes. But anytime I ever have a question or need anything for these amps, Luke and B. Manley are the greatest, man. The level of service that they have, and they're just dear friends of mine, and I really appreciate them for all the help they've given me over the years and how they're always willing to help. And this right here is the Fleetwood Excelsior that one of our best customers gave me for Christmas. We have some really good customers all over the world, but this particular one gives us a really nice Christmas gift every year. This one really stood out. I mean, I love the way it looks. I love the way it sounds. It's made out of really high quality material, everything about it. And it also, I love the modern design and the look. I just started getting into mid-century modern furniture and things like that. And I just love this piece, the way it looks and sounds. And I just put it here for the moment. I don't know where it's going to end up, but we play it sometimes. And when we don't want to play a record, I'll play this just to fill up the house with music. And over here is my first turntable. Maybe not my first turntable, but my first audiophile turntable. It's the VPI. It's the HW19. I think it's Mark IV. Now, when I got it, it was a Mark I. I probably got this in about 86 as well. The difference between a VPI Mark I, II, III, and IV is the motors in the Mark I, or just, they probably didn't call it Mark I, it was the HW19, is the motor was cheaper and smaller. And as they kept improving, you know, when they changed it to Mark II, Mark III, Mark IV, the motors got more substantial and better. But I'll never sell this thing. It's also got a Koetsu cartridge and a SME 5 tone arm. But, you know, you can actually see how much I've used this thing over the years, grading test pressings or doing evaluations on used records or just listening and enjoying. This has been my, like they say, my everyday driver since 1986. This is part of Acoustic Sounds history. All right, well, I'm going to take y'all downstairs, and we're going to see my system downstairs. And Well, as we're going down, I'll tell you a story about this. This is Pine Top Perkins. He was about 93 at the time. And Pine Top Perkins was Muddy Waters' piano player. And he is awesome and a musical artist in his own rights. He's got many albums. Well, right here, you can see this picture. We had this on the wall at the church, and that's him playing. You can see the keyboard, and you can see his hands in the reflection in his glasses. Well, this picture was on the wall, and he was sitting right next to this picture. And so my wife, Lydia, said, hey, grab the picture off the wall and have him sign it. So we grabbed this picture off the wall. We handed it to him. We had a professional photographer that just happened to be in the kitchen. So while he's signing it, we took a picture of him signing his own picture of him playing live. And then afterwards, he held it up. Now, this is in 2000, so this is 25 years ago. He was about 92, 93. I think he lived to around 98. And he was still performing to the end. Pine Top was the greatest. Everybody that knows him knows he loved McDonald's. I think he called it McDaniels. And just awesome, awesome player. We had him more than once come to Salina and perform, but I just love these two things here. And then right here is Jim Marshall, Mobile Fidelity, the original, the first Mobile Fidelity, when it was Herb Belkin that owned it. They would send out gifts, and I would get a gift every year. That doesn't happen anymore, but I would get a gift every year. The best dealers got a gift. And this is an original Jim Marshall from 1972, where Marshall, so 20 years later, in 1992 is when I got it. Jim Marshall signed it in 92. It's the original picture of the Rolling Stones. Now, I worked a lot with William Claxton. We licensed this picture for our box set, the Miles Davis. And this is another Miles Davis picture that we've got from William Claxton, the originals. So, great friends of his. All right, now we're going to bring you to our main room, my best stereo in the house, and the one that's the most serious and what I really listen to. Again, I listen to so much during the day. People ask me, how much music do I listen to at home, or do I listen to my home system? And honestly, I don't listen much at home because I listen all day long, and we got awesome systems, you know, all over acoustic sound. So when you listen all day long and you come home, you don't really look forward to listening. You know, you look forward to relaxing. But I do love my system. I do have part of my record collection here, and I love having it, and I do listen, but really not that much. But every now and then, when I want to double check what I'm hearing at work, make sure something sounds awesome and it makes sure it sounds good on this system, I'll bring it down here. All right, come on in. I got Stelly. Here to help me. Chad,
hey guys.
Stelly. And anyway, Stelly helps me with this system and keep it running, and all the systems at Acoustic Sounds. And just thought I'd bring him down here while we did this. Maybe, Stella, you want to talk about those Pass amps I just got?
Yeah, we really love the Pass people and all of their gear. Nelson Pass has been designing stuff since before I was into audio with the old Threshold Corporation. But these X250.8s are a Class AB amplifier that are very high power and work beautifully for this system and how Chad uses it with the Eidolons from Avalon Acoustics, and just a great sounding amplifier that does everything we ask of it. So we brought in 3 different pieces of Pass gear. We've got an XP22 line stage here, and it's basically fed by the XP27. The entire system is fully balanced, dual differential, very low noise, relatively insensitive to cabling. And each of these units have their own power supplies, which are down below. So you're keeping all the high current, high voltage stuff away from the audio signal here. Just great gear.
Okay, so what we got here is a bassist gold debut with a Graham tone arm with a Vandenhall cartridge. And I got this in the late 80s. I haven't felt like I needed to upgrade. I love the sound. I love the way it looks. I love how substantial it is. I'm friends with AJ Vandenhall, and you know, I'd go to the shows in Europe, and AJ's always like, you ought to let me make you a cartridge. You know, you ought to let me make you a cartridge. I'd love to give you a cartridge. And I'm like, okay, sure. He goes, I want to make you one just for you. And so, um, you know, I got the cartridge and I got a bill, and I was, which I paid, and I'm happy to pay. And it's a great cartridge. I mean, it's so clean and clear. Um, you know, I had another cartridge on it. I don't know, this was just so much clearer. It just totally different. Just total, I mean, so much clearer and cleaner.
More effortless.
Yeah, and oh, this is Surgex Power conditioner. And we had Neil Muncie when he was doing our church recording studio, Blue Heaven Studios. Neil wrote papers on grounding principle. He was a vice president of the AES, Audio Engineering Society. So when he was here, he was working on our church for the recording studio, and he suggested I would put these Surgex power controllers and you know, for my stereo system. And
Kansas weather is not an issue. We can listen under any circumstances.
oh, and this is a piece of granite, a solid piece of granite. We're in a basement right now, which has got, of course, cement floor. And Stella, you want to talk about it? Any of the?
Well, I'll talk a little first about the turntable. When I first came here in 05, this turntable was quite a bit different. I think you were running an early Benz wood body on this Graham arm. And then we made an upgrade. We were able to put one of the brass upgraded bearings on this earlier 1.5. I think they may call it a 2.5 with the upgraded brass bearing, but a really nice upgrade. I think the Graham arms are fantastic. The newer models, the Phantom 3s and the Elites, are the same basic layout as what this arm is comprised of, but the fit and finish is much improved. And when you're adjusting them, they really stay together more than this one. This one is a little more fiddly, but once it's dialed in and everything is tight, it's everything you would expect a good unipivot arm to do. So anyway, that upgrade was done. Also, AJ supplied us with a new motor and one of his precision ground belts, drive belts, along with the synchro power supply, which we see down here. So the drive system of this original basis, this was a gold debut, is what this model was referred to. Anyway, it's been vastly upgraded. So extremely pitch stable, and it's got an isolated sub chassis, the upper deck with the clamping system, and it's it's a great turntable.
So these are the Avalon Eidolons, and we got these about 30 years ago. This is a maple bird's eye, and I mean, they're just built, the woodworking of Avalon is second to none, and they're just so solid and well built and beautiful. And you know, they sound so good. I've never needed to upgrade them. And we're very good friends with Lucian. Lucian worked at Avalon for probably 25 years or more. And he came up and set them up, and we haven't moved them because he really dialed them in. And these are Muse 8 Model 18 subwoofers that Kevin Halverson, Kevin worked real closely with Avalon, and he had an input module made just for these Avalon speakers. And I had one subwoofer, and somebody suggested I have two. So I found one on eBay or something, and the guy was in Houston, and I was going to send the money to pay him, and he says, well, we're a customer of Acoustic Sounds, and I love you guys. And he goes, How about just sending me a couple of reel-to-reel tapes for it? I'm like, you're kidding me. And so since we have friends in Houston and Lafayette, Louisiana, they went, picked this other subwoofer. So now we have a match pair. And Kevin Halverson that owns Muse is such a nice, good friend that he went and found another input module that matches this. And so they both have input modules for this speaker that he designed. And so...
Seamless.
Yeah, it's seamless. You really don't want to hear the bass. Like, I mean, you don't want it to stand out. You know what I mean? But when you have the subwoofers, these can play much louder and clearer, and they don't get bogged down or, you know, trying to reproduce the bass. You know what I mean? And so the low level is played by that, and these just really sing. And I'm lucky I have Stelly working for me, can keep all this dialed in and running for me. And, you know,
I would call this system the tiebreaker.
The tiebreaker, yeah.
Because sometimes, I mean, we use a lot of different systems to evaluate test pressings and new releases. And sometimes when you're on the fence, you know, we've got a lot of different systems that have different characteristics. This system always tells us which way to go.
All right, so this is my record collection at home. It's maybe about a third of my record collection, maybe a fourth. But this is what's at home. A lot of it I've brought to work, but we use this to find records to reissue or to scan for the covers or to use when we're comparing the original against our new reissues or our new remasters. But right here, what we have, all of these are the original MoFi test pressings from the original MoFi, you know, back when it was Herb Belkin that owned it. And like, for instance, you know, this was never released, and I just kept this album cover. So I've got a lot of these test pressings from the original MoFi that was never released. Here's another one. They did this during the Anadisc series, but they never released this one. These are some test pressings from our own label. Here's some more test pressings from MoFi. Again, the original. Yeah, Jefferson Airplane Volunteers. Here you go. Here's a stereo for the joy of it. Just love these. Here's some box sets. The Eric Clapton box set, Willie Nelson, AC/DC box set. That Sterling cut all of these off the original masters at the same time, and AC/DC was present. Queen, Metallica, Woodstock. Now I've got, this is number 35 of the Stones box. And then of course my favorite, Muddy Waters. Hold on a sec. Jimmy D.
Hey, Bob.
What's up, man? Is it, yeah, I'm filming a thing right now. I'm talking to Jimmy D. Lane, and I'm calling Jimmy D to help me identify some Robert Jr. Lockwood tracks, some blues tracks. Anyway, I sort my albums A to Z, from Allman Brothers to ZZ Top, and the blues is in there, but not jazz and classical. So A to Z, you know, folk, blues, classic rock, classic pop. That's how it goes. So that stops here, and then the jazz goes here, and then from A to Z here. Okay, and then this is classical. My favorite artists, Tony Joe White here.
They all your favorite.
Yeah, they's all my favorite. That's good one. Oh, here is what I need to bring to work. This is from 1942, the folk music of the United States. From 1942, the Library of Congress, done by Alan Lomax. And a friend of mine gave me this. I call him Big Boy Dwayne from Kansas City. There's nothing Dwayne can't accomplish, man. You know, and he knew I wanted one of these. He got it for me. And he also convinced me to reissue this record, which we did. Glad to have it. I appreciate my friend giving it to me. And anyway, this is my record collection and or part of my record collection, my collection at home. We're gonna go to the third and final room at my house, and that's the vintage system. All right, this is the third and final room. This room is a home theater room with a storage screen and everything in it, and but we don't watch much TV anymore or movies, mostly music. So I like having a little bit of everything. I like my quad 57s. They sound so good, but they're so different for upstairs. I like my high-end, ultra high-end system that's very clear, just audiophile. And then I like my vintage. You know, I like to listen to tubes and really efficient horn speakers. Now, a lot of horns I don't really like. It's got to be really, really good horn system for me to love. And these, I think, I love. And this is a very unique pair of speakers. I mean, these, you wouldn't want to have to lift this. This is so heavy. And I'm going to let Stella explain how interesting and how cool these speakers are. Stella, go ahead.
Well, I know a little bit about this system. Chad actually had told me about this system for many years. One of our Clips reps at the time, Rich Brown, who lived in Kansas City, owned this system. And his listening room was, Chad always referred to it as like a tree house because he had this huge window that you would look out into his yard, which was quite nice. And he talked about these loudspeakers being on the far extremities, and even at whisper volumes, it would just completely emotionally reach out to you. Listening to these was a real good experience. Rich, he did pass away.
Yeah, Rich Brown passed away. Rich was kind of a legend in Kansas City. He worked at Brandsmart. He worked at David. I think he might have worked at David Beatty's. I'm not sure, but he had been working in the hi-fi and the music business and pretty much his whole life in Kansas City, and he ended up being the Clips rep. He was one of our best customers and best friends. We love Rich. Well, explain like the different speakers first, like the woofers, for instance.
So this speaker system was actually developed by, you may have heard of, I'm going to get off in the weeds, but the old Rockford Fosgate car stereo. The punch circuit was a special tone circuit that was developed by a guy who was Jim Fosgate's, one of his closest allies was a guy, Fred Hewlin. And Fred had a store many years ago. I think he had the original audio port, but Fred designed this loudspeaker. Yeah. And it's very unique. A few of these are out there in the world from Fred Hewlin, but this uses a pair of Gauss subwoofers or bass drivers. The Gauss drivers feature Alnico magnets. And we just had a pair of these, some new surrounds were installed by Dave Miller at Tulsa Speaker Works. Dave is one of the best speaker reconers in the business.
Man, we love Dave, man. Such a professional.
He's the man. But these things are very unique and extremely well built. So the Alnico magnets and the motor structure and the cast frame is just, it's jewelry. And then the B110s from KEF, one of the best mid-bass drivers out there, period. A lot of different speaker systems use these drivers over the years. And there was another manufacturer besides KEF, a couple of them that were making these. I think Falcon is making them now. But it's a special doped poly cone. And we also feature a Gauss horn tweeter and a Heil super tweeter. And there's no passive network in this system. All of these drivers are directly coupled to their respective amplifier. And from the CD source on this system, the signal is being electronically divided through these series of audio research active crossovers.
So these crossovers were built for these were custom built by Audio Research for these speakers. So
the crossover points and the slopes were all built into the electronics. So it speaks with one voice.
And then there's like 4 amps, stereo amps.
Right.
Just for these 2 speakers, so that they have their own crossover, their own amps. You know, that it's not like a typical crossover. You know.
Mm-hmm. That's why you can use the Fleewatt 300B and get tremendous sound levels, because there's no passive LCR networks to absorb any of the signal.
So we have 2 systems on either side of the room, and what we do is we'll move this couch, and when we listen to it, of course, we face it this way, we listen to these speakers, and then when we want to listen to these Hartsfields, we turn it around and move it back. So we can have 2 systems. These are JBL Hartsfields, and I think these came out in the 50s from JBL, and these are reissues. Somebody had the exact design, bought all the exact components, and made it himself. And I was able to buy these. And then I'll let Stelly talk more about them. There's the crossovers there for them. And
yeah, wasn't this part of a record collection?
Yeah, I bought a record collection. A lot of times when we buy record collections, stereos come with it, and was very happy that this came with the stereo. The man was very proud of this. This is the KN88T, and I'll let Stelly talk more about the speakers and the amp.
Yeah, this system was built by this gentleman. All the wood he picked out, and I think they're actually built better than
The
originals. There's metal pieces in here and metal framing. But yeah, these things are pretty brute.
Well, go ahead and say that you were saying you think they're built better than the original.
I think these were built better than the original. When we were assembling, there's some metal parts in the construction of the frame. And he also did his own outboard crossover networks. Not much to look at, but my God, does it sound good. It uses one of the real expensive, I think that's a Gertz flat wound inductor, and then an air core here.
Don't touch it.
But these things really, really sound tremendous. And right now we're just driving them with a little KN amplifier. One of my favorites, actually. It's called the A88T. It uses some of the octal 6SN and 6SL7 tubes on the front end and a pair of KT88s for around very healthy 40 watts per channel. There's no auto bias, no trickery. It's just a straight amplifier. Very easy to trim the bias out on it. But what's unique about it is the output transformers do have 16 ohm taps, which really speak well to this system. And it sounds incredibly dynamic and smooth at the same time. It's not like horns. What's cool about the Hartsfield is if you can find a stereo pair of these speakers, because when these originally came out, mono was all the rage. So getting a stereo pair, but since these are really recreated by the original owner, they perfectly match. So it's a very fun system to listen to, and not nearly as complex as what's on the other side of the room.
You've been working me, boss man. Working me around the clock. Boss man. Boss man.
Thanks for stopping by and checking out my systems. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I know I did, and showing it to you. I've been asked, a lot of people wanted to know what kind of systems I use at home, and if you don't mind, I'm going to listen to a little bit of Jimmy Lee Robinson. He was my best buddy.
Well, you may be big, but you not so tall at all.
Please like and subscribe for more Audiophile content.